Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
I'm Amir.
and welcome to
Yeah,
the.
which way are you gonna put me this time?
You're always gonna be on that side, like, because that's where you
But
are,
I'm on this side.
but not for me, okay? Well, and welcome to the Mustcast podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, we're gonna start off with media we're consuming. Starting off with the mirror.
Yes, sir. Okay, so sorry, I'm eating ice cream while we're doing this. I had to. What media have I been consuming? One, which we're probably I think you said we're gonna talk about this episode. Finished the Invincible comic book series as well as finally caught up fully on the show. For some reason, I just kept putting off like watching the last two episodes of this season. I don't know why. I just did. But I finished that. I have been reading a lot of Electra comic books. I don't know why. It's just like I'll get like this happens to me like once every like 3 months. I'm like, you know what? I feel like reading Electra right now, and then I just like go on like a binge through like anything Electra. Uh, which by the way, Electra is just amazing comic book character, top tier. Um, Battlefield 5 is free on PS Plus, and so I played through the entire Battlefield 5 campaign, if you can call it. EA is really bad at making campaigns, but I played through the entire Battlefield 5 campaign because the campaign was available and then the multiplayer was still downloading. There is a plane going on overhead over my apartment building, so if y'all can hear that, I'm sorry. But played that while the multiplayer was still downloading. I've been playing the current season of Apex as well as the current season of Destiny 2. And there's been something else. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. So until I remember it, oh, that's what it is. I've been listening to this podcast. It's a very old podcast. The first episode came out on my 10th birthday. And a friend of mine had recommended it to me like 4.5 years ago. I just never did. I just never watched it. It is right up my alley though. It's called Welcome to Night Vale. It is the perfect podcast for me. It's presented as like a radio station for a strange town called Night Vale. It's a strange desert town, and it's presented as like a radio station. And the first episode opens with something like, the city council would like to remind you, or the city council would like to remind you that they are building a new dog park. No dogs are allowed in the dog park. No humans are allowed in the dog park. Do not go near the dog park. Do not think about the dog park. The dog park doesn't exist. And something about like, if you see hooded figures in the dog park, do not look at the hooded figures for any amount of time. And it's just like stuff like that, just repeatedly, like, it feels like if SCP or Control was like a comedic radio station, and I love it so much. It is like perfect for me. I found like my new favorite podcast ever. I love it so much. So yeah, that's what I've been consuming.
And my favorite podcast is the Dormtainment podcast. Are you done?
Wait, repeat that?
Allison, do you have anything else?
Oh no, that's it.
Okay. Well, I do consume this a lot because I listen to it every week. But the Dormtainment podcast is my favorite podcast. They're a comedy group. Five black guys. Is it five? I forget. One member left. I can't remember how many there are now. I think it's five. I listen to that frequently. Recently, some of the episodes I haven't really been able to get into and finish because they're having a lot of guests recently, and a lot of the guests, as of quarantine, tend to be people who are specifically there to essentially advertise whatever brand or whatever business they're starting, and they aren't usually super good friends with the usual members of the podcast. So there isn't like the chemistry between them isn't very good as opposed to the guests they would have before quarantine started. So any episode with a guest I tend to skip, unless it's a guest that's been on there before that they're good friends with and they have great chemistry with, because the new guests that they have, I don't really feel very much. Other than that, when it's just the three guys on the couch, I listen to it. It's hilarious. I watched Redline, which is a anime movie made by Madhouse, if I'm not believe. Let me double check that real quick. Yep, it is Madhouse. Madhouse is a studio that also did, they do Hunter x Hunter. They've done a couple of shows. I can't remember all of them. The first one that comes to my mind is Hunter x Hunter, the 2013 version or 2011 version. And it's one of the most beautifully animated movies I've ever seen. It took them 8 years to make. And it's just wild. It is literally, if Bullet Hell, the video game genre, was a movie, low key. It's like, it's a Bullet Hell movie. It's about racing, and the first race is amazing. The last race isn't as good as the first race because it isn't much of a race, but it's still very entertaining, and it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's, it's just I don't know, like, it's less than 2 hours long. 2 hours long, if I'm not mistaken, and it's fantastic. I also, of course, also watched and read Invincible. Fantastic. We'll talk more about that later. Watched Yasuke. We'll talk about that later as well. Been watching some more Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket is a good anime. I watch it on Hulu. I don't know if it's probably on Funimation as well. Fruits Basket's really good. Played a little bit more of Miles Morales, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Sleeping Dogs, but the most recent game that I've been playing a lot of is Resident Evil Village. I haven't beat it yet. I'm in like the third act. I didn't play it yesterday because we were having a cookout and people were in the living room, so I want to play it by myself with no one around. So yeah.
You reminded me, I completely forgot. I saw the first episode of Yasuke. I liked the first episode. I haven't seen anything past it. I also saw Shadow and Bone on Netflix, which, if you are a fan of books and novels, it is adapting the book Shadow and Bone, but also has some characters from another book series in the same universe called Six of Crows. I read Six of Crows a while ago. I didn't like Six of Crows very much. Like, there was stuff I liked about it, but I didn't like the majority of it. The Six of Crows characters, there were 5 Six of Crows characters because there were 3 different plot lines, 5 different Six of Crows characters. 3 of the crows, I actually, it made me want to go reread the book because I loved it so much. Like, I want a show just about those 3. Like, I did not care about any of the other plot lines in the show. It was just that one plot line where I was like, I love it. Sorry, I just had to, because you reminded me when you said Yasuke. I was like, oh, Yasuke. I was like, oh, Netflix. Oh, yeah, Shadow and Bone. I had to. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we'll be getting Yasuke soon because, next portion we're going to start talking about animation. First things first, a trailer for season 3 of Castlevania came out. We're recording this Monday, May 10th. So in 3 days, the entire season, because it's on Netflix, the entire 4th season. So I was going to say the first episode, but this is not
the first episode and the second episode and the last episode.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. I'm pretty sure I said it last week, but like the director and Netflix themselves teased that naturally this is going to be the end of the series. We're going to continue the series with a different Belmont in the future. Mitchell's vs. the Machines, the Sony animated film, came out on Netflix. I haven't watched it.
I haven't even heard of it.
It's not really, it doesn't really, I was going to watch it for the podcast, but it just wasn't calling me. It doesn't interest me. The animation looks good, but other than that, it's not really a story I'm super interested in. But just speaking on Sony animation, Sony Pictures Animation in general, they have an impressive lineup of animated shows coming out within the next few years. One in particular that I wanted to, point out was there's a movie being made directed by Genndy Tartakovsky of Samurai Jack fame called Black Knight. And that sounds like it will be amazing. He's done a few feature films, but none of the films were like action oriented like Samurai Jack or the Clone Wars. The films that he made have been the Hotel Transylvania series. Those have been the animated movies.
He made those movies? What?
He made those.
That is like so far from everything else he's
it's so different from a lot of other things he's made. And I'm excited to see him do an action movie. Not just an action movie, an R-rated animated action movie. One of the big.
So it's gonna be rated. Oh, I know this is gonna be great.
I know it's rated R. I need to also finish watching the rest of Primal, because Primal had like a mid-season break for a couple months, and then it came back. It's a Genndy Tartakovsky cartoon on Adult Swim about a caveman and a dinosaur. It's really good. Great. It's, same energy as Samurai Jack, Clone Wars, a lot of action, a lot of violence. Riot Games are making an animated series called Arcane based off of League of Legends. I saw the trailer like sometime last year or maybe the year before that, and it looks so good. Bro, you gotta watch it right now because I keep forgetting to send you trailers to watch. I sent you that one gameplay trailer, but you probably didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it.
I know you didn't watch it. You need to watch the trailer, bro. Look up Riot Games Arcane and watch the trailer. I'm gonna watch it too.
All right, my immediate thought was this looks like previous League of Legends trailers, and that's because like the first few seconds is just screen caps from previous League of Legends trailers. I was very like, what do you have me watching? I've seen this before.
But yeah, so it's literally being animated by the studio, not by like a separate like animation team. So that's interesting.
So this is taking place in the League universe, like in the League of Legends universe?
Yeah.
I've been saying that video games that like arcade, like hero-based arcade games, or not hero-based arena type games like League of Legends, like Overwatch. I'm trying to think of others that I play. Like Apex. They need to have like animated series. Like
Overwatch needs a movie. Like everybody wants.
That's what I've been like. Overwatch needs a movie. Like
the animated shorts are so good. The animated shorts are so good. And if League of Legends can make an animated series, then Overwatch can make an animated.
Overwatch for sure can do it.
Like
Overwatch for sure can do that. Yeah. I've been saying this for years that League of Legends, Overwatch, Apex, they need animated series. I'm glad they're finally doing them.
Yeah.
At least for League. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's exciting. So we're gonna jump into now Yasuke. Okay. So for people who don't know, Yasuke is a real black samurai that existed. And there was an anime made based off of that character called, Yasuke, named after him. But the show is not what you would think it would be. And that's kind of my and a lot of people's biggest gripe with the show. Personally, it's a solid like 5 for me, maybe 5.5. I don't think it's very good. I think that it has some great elements, but it kind of just doesn't take them far enough. And it doesn't focus on the titular character at all. And it gives you little snippets of his backstory, which are super interesting. And then they cut away and you never see any more of it. And it's like, bruh, that was interesting. That's what I want to see. I want to learn, when you hear that there was a black samurai in real life in Japan, you want to learn about that story. You want to learn about, even if it's fictitious, even if they add stuff to it, because, of course, all the details aren't known. And even if the action is, played up like a Kurosawa film, that's fine. I still want to know as much as you can tell me about what really happened. But this story is about mechs and magic, and Yasuke taking this magical little girl to be trained by an old acquaintance of Yasuke, and then to go and stop this evil witch Danae. And it's like, it's weird. It's
in the first few minutes of the first episode, I was like, okay, cool. So this is gonna be a cool opening for we're gonna see Yasuke do some cool stuff. And I just see magic and sorcerers and like giant mech robots that were, for some reason, I don't understand why every anime animates mech robots in like the weird 3D animation that does not fit the style of animation they're going for at all.
Well, I mean, the reason is obvious. They're machines, and machines are complicated to animate, so it's easy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like,
for me,
it's very obvious that like that's not.
Yeah, there are a lot of cases of like, for example, Gundam. They've been doing it for years. Naturally, they've gotten good at it because they've been doing it for so long. Right. And the studio that animated this, MAPPA, they're good at it too. I've talked about it before. Dorohedoro is one of the most beautiful 3D anime I've ever seen in my life. Dorohedoro looks beautiful. Granted, the director, the animation director on Dorohedoro naturally isn't working on this. He's an assistant director on Attack on Titan, or co-director on Attack on Titan season 4, the final season. So he's not here. So the person that one of the people at least who worked on the animation team and made that 3D animation so beautiful isn't on this team, and because of that, the 3D animation is a bit lacking. Also, MAPPA is one of the biggest offenders of essentially crunch and overworking their animators. That's a thing that's been known to happen in Japan. People in Japan work themselves to death. It's horrible. But, especially happens with animators. And MAPPA used to actually be pretty good in comparison to most studios. They used to make 2 to 3 high quality shows a year. But in 2016, their founder, Masao Maruyama, anybody watching this could correct me if I pronounce that wrong, but he left the studio, someone else took over, and in 2020 they made 8 shows. A lot, exactly. They went from 3 shows a year to 8. Ridiculous.
3 shows a year, I'm not gonna lie, sounds like pushing it.
And it shows, because the animation in Yasuke isn't very good. It's not the best. There's one really good fight, and it is again in a flashback, and it's when that lady.
Again, I only finished the first episode. I don't have strong enough of an opinion.
It's when a lady in his past is like sparring with someone, and it's a really good sword fight. They're using wooden swords. It's great. It's the most beautifully animated fight in that show. But other than that, the animation's not the best, especially with the sword fights. It was just really disappointing. I watched through all of it. It's only 6 episodes, 30-minute episodes, so it was easy to run through it because it's super short. But it hurt to watch.
I do know that they're doing a live action movie for Yasuke, which
I would hope that one doesn't have mechs.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's going to be better. It's sad. Chadwick Boseman was supposed to play Yasuke in that. That is, of course, very sad. I just really hope that that's better. I've always really been a fan of the whole Yasuke story. I have a book actually in my room. I can go get it, but I'm trying not to run off camera. In my book or in my room about Yasuke. That's when I first found out about it. I don't know if you remember Miss Frederick, but Miss Frederick told me about it, and she was like, "Yeah, I have a book about it." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And Miss Frederick, if you're watching this, I still haven't given you the book back. I'm sorry. I will. I promise. But she let me borrow the book. The book, and it the story is really good. I was really none of the trailers had, at least none of the trailers I saw for the anime had mechs, and the magic in the trailers was very toned down. So I thought it was gonna be semi-realistic. I thought it was gonna be something like Samurai Champloo, where there's one supernatural character in Samurai Champloo and he dies the same episode that he's in. So I'm
the way Samurai Champloo incorporates kind of things that weren't there at the time is they mix tons of hip-hop influence all throughout the show. And in the music, and one of the main characters, Mugen, literally break dances when he fights. There's a whole episode about spray painting and graffiti. It's definitely a bunch of hip-hop influences. And it's hard
my favorite anime.
Yeah, it's hard not to compare this to Samurai Champloo because they use
anime.
They use lo-fi hip-hop and it's samurai anime. Plus, there's another anime that's much better than this that also has mechs in it. that was based off of Yasuke, and that's Afro Samurai. Afro Samurai was based off of Yasuke. It has mechs.
I completely forgot about Afro Samurai.
Is amazing.
Now I have to reevaluate my favorite anime list because Afro Samurai has always been up there. I just keep forgetting it exists until I see something about it. I'm like, I want to go rewatch it. Yeah, I just keep forgetting it exists, but it's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, it just, it hurt. It hurt to see this story pretty much just muddled with a bunch of unnecessary additions, like magic, like this little girl, not necessarily little girl, but just magic and mechs. Magic and mechs just didn't need to be there. And also I wanted to learn about Yasuke, not this little girl, not magic, not a witch. I wanted to learn about him and his struggles being a Black man in Japan. and they
I gotta say,
got into that in the flashbacks, and that's all. And they barely showed any of it. It was crazy, man. I
gotta say, the first episode when it was he was trying to escape with the mom and the daughter, and like they froze the river, and the guy in the robot suit was like, he is black. I'm not gonna lie, I died because I was like, that's like what? And I mean, they had like a Russian, they had like 3 white people and another black dude in there, and they were like, he's black. Like none of you guys look like you belong here. Like don't like, start now.
It was it was weird.
The first episode was very weird. I enjoyed it, but I mean, again, I'm not far enough in to like really make a concrete opinion about it. But
yeah, you compared it to Mortal Kombat and said this feels like Mortal Kombat, and I was
like, it feels like Mortal Kombat. Like off rip, it felt like Mortal Kombat.
Like I was just thinking about how dope it would have been if Sub-Zero came and froze a lake and then fought somebody on top of it. That would have been cool.
That'd have been cool.
But before we go on,
maybe I did get into the. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
I mean, I was just about to change to something else. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I might have gotten to the second episode because I remember seeing the fight where Yasuke kills the ninja or the shinobi in the snowy place. I don't think that was in the first episode. I think that was in the second episode. I like that fight scene. That was cool to me. I was like, that was clean. But that was, I think that's really, I guarantee you that was the third episode.
Yeah, that was another episode that took place in the past. That was really interesting, and what was happening was super cool and a little bit more grounded than mechs and magic. And
it was much more grounded than mechs and magic. It was just a ninja and a samurai fighting. Like, it was much more grounded.
And I wish that was all the show was. I wish it was ninjas and samurai fighting. Have you ever seen Ninja Scroll?
No, that sounds familiar, but like
you should watch Ninja Scroll. If I'm not mistaken, Madhouse actually also animated Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll is it's a anime movie from the 90s about ninjas.
1993.
It's really good. It's just beautifully animated as well.
I'm gonna have to watch this. I'm looking at like the little Google images.
Yeah, it's definitely made by Madhouse, animated by Madhouse. But yeah, now we're gonna go on to the Bad Batch.
Yes.
We'll talk about the first 2 episodes. So spoiler alert for the first 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. Man, that first episode of Bad Batch was so good. It was so good. They keep showing us Order 66.
And it doesn't get easier to watch. Every new perspective I see, my heart just breaks all over again. I'm like, no. Like, I'm never going to get tired of watching Order 66, but it's never going to be easier.
Yeah.
It's never going to be easier for me to watch. Like, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and this time they showed Kanan back when he was Caleb. And his master died and he ran away.
And a lot of people have been getting upset because it retcons the Kanan comics. Like I'm not upset because the retcon is small.
Also, I've said this before. I don't think anything is canon until you see it on a screen.
Oh, I disagree with that. Especially now that Disney has taken over.
There are several things that happen in canon books that they change once it goes to live action. It's happened.
That has only happened in Disney.
So for me, it's like it's not canon until it's on the screen.
That's only happened in Disney one time before, which was with Clone Wars season 7 with the Ahsoka novel. That's the only other time that's happened. So I can understand. Like, I've seen the argument of people who are like, "Oh, Disney. The whole purpose of Disney erasing Legends was so that it would they could make a more cohesive narrative, and now this isn't canon." I understand that argument, but at the same time, and like I definitely like the stuff we see in the books and in the comics stuff, that's definitely still canon because we see it referenced in the video games and the shows and the movies and stuff like that. But like, it's literally like the very first issue of the Kanan comic, and the Kanan comic ran for like 12 issues. It's like the very first issue. Everything afterwards can still happen. The Kanan novel can still happen, and like the basics of the first episode, where Depa Billaba and Kanan are working with clone troopers, and then they turn on Depa Billaba after Order 66, and they try to go after Kanan. and then Kanan. That's the basics of what happens in the first issue, and like the same thing happens just differently. Like, but it's basically the same thing. Like, there's nothing. Yeah, no, that like they kept the planet the same. They kept like that. People getting upset over that. I understand why, but it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah. And his voice was weird.
That threw me off.
No.
That threw me off because you could tell Freddie Prinze is trying to do like a younger voice, but it doesn't work.
They could have edited his voice just a little bit and made it a little more childlike. He just sounded like a grown man voicing a child. He did not sound.
That's what he was. He sounded like what he was.
Yeah, exactly. He sounded exactly like what he was. He also looked so much whiter than he does.
I think that might have something to do with like working on Lethal versus like his nose. By the time he gets older, even in the comics and the books, he works on a lot more like sun-heavy planets.
But his nose is also different, and that's also weird.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice his nose.
His nose is more hooked in Rebels than it is in Bad Batch, and that's not even a thing that is like a style change because styles are different. The way the nose is shaped could have still been the same, but it's different, and I'm like, that's a weird choice. Yeah, he just didn't look like for me. It's just like that sun whatever thing. It's just like you should still make the younger version of the character resemble the older version of the character if you're gonna do it. Mm-hmm. You like it's weird that they made him look completely different. That like if you didn't hear Freddie Prinze's voice, if that if his master wasn't his master in the comics, that could be any random Padawan. That didn't like in terms of looks, that didn't look like him. You'd think they would have made it look like him at the very least, but I wouldn't even say barely. It didn't look like him at all. Like you wouldn't know it was him if it didn't have his voice.
Again, I can't really say that I noticed a difference, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. Like I wasn't looking for one.
You're lying. He doesn't look anything like he does in Rebels.
Well, I mean, my whole thing is it goes down to animation choices in my eyes because even season 7 and like the Bad Batch look way different than like character design, everything from season 1 of the Clone Wars, and so like changing animation styles completely.
But the difference isn't as great as the one I'm talking about. Like the difference between Ahsoka at the beginning in the movie and Ahsoka in season 7 isn't as drastic as Kanan as a kid.
But that's what I'm saying though, is like they're two different animation styles, like two different art styles, two different animation styles. They're gonna look a little different.
The same directors, a lot of the same people working on it. They aren't.
But it's completely different art styles. That's what I'm saying. That's why Ahsoka looks
because Ahsoka still translated from one art style to the other. So,
look at Vader. Look at Vader, for example.
Vader also still translated from one art style to the other. There are ways to like there's no justifying this for professionals to translate a character's design to him being younger and having them look completely different. It's like, bro, then your audience isn't connecting that is him, other than the fact that we hear this deep dude's voice playing this little kid. If you're going
to disagree heavily.
To look younger, it has to resemble the older version. It can't look completely different.
I don't think it looks that different.
Maybe that's just horrible design.
I don't think it looked that different to me. I don't think it looked that different to me. But I've not been looking for the differences. But I don't think it looked that different.
But yeah, rest of the episode.
Omega. The rest of the episode was fire.
Omega is a clone. I knew it. She's a clone. You thought she wasn't. Of course she was a clone. She looks.
No, I said I don't know if she's a clone or not. I didn't say whether or not I thought she was. I don't know if she's a clone or not. But everyone's assuming she's a clone. So she is a clone. I'm not knocking that. I just didn't know whether or not she was, and I was serious because I didn't know because they hadn't said anything about it. A lot of people have been pointing out that she looks like Jango's sister from the comics, which would be a very interesting twist if they canonize Jango's sister.
I mean, technically,
I'd be happy.
Technically, she would be his sister because, well, wait, no, she would be Boba's sister, technically.
Yeah, she would be Boba's sister.
She'd be Jango's daughter, but like...
Yo, I wonder if Boba's going to show up in this.
Because the first time I saw her, I was like, she looks like the way young Boba does in the Clone Wars, except with lighter skin and lighter hair. Some people were thinking that she might have the Force or something.
That'd be a little dumb.
because of just little things that she's done that have seemed strange.
That'd be a little.
It's either the Force or something. It's well, both of them technically would still lead towards being the Force, but the other one is that she can connect to the clones and like kind of use their abilities or something like that. And I feel like there was an easy way to also just make that connect to the Force.
That'd be a little
I feel like
it's
hard to give anybody in the Star Wars universe any type of power that isn't physical without it being connected to the Force. Because the Bad Batch,
I'm already thinking with ways.
All of their abilities, no, there isn't, because all of the Bad Batch's abilities are like directly tied to their physical, like what they can physically do.
They keep saying that Omega.
Hunter has heightened senses. Tech has heightened intelligence. Wrecker has heightened strength. What's the dude with the sniper? I can't remember. Crosshairs, is good at shooting, and Echo is a cyborg. Echo, everything she's been shown to do has been very mental, and honestly, I also think it would be weird for something that's more abstract in this Star Wars universe to all of a sudden not be connected to the Force, because it's like, okay, why are you adding a new power system unrelated to the Force unnecessarily? But also, I kind of don't want her to have the Force, because I feel like every new kid in Star Wars ends up just having the Force. Every time there's a new main character, they end up having the Force, and I'm like, okay, they don't need to have. Not everybody needs to have the Force to be a cool character.
I don't think it's the Force. I don't think it's the Force, because if they were able to make Force sensitive clones, then the whole thing with Grogu in The Mandalorian wouldn't really be a thing.
I mean,
and then even going back to Legends,
I think that it's very clear that if she is Force sensitive, she's their only successful Force sensitive clone, and literally right after she was made, Grand Moff Tarkin literally came to shut it down. So like, it's like they can't even get a chance to make more after they have succeeded.
But then that brings me back to why, like, how is that all lost in less than 50 years? Like that information, that knowledge and stuff, that should all really be. I mean, that shouldn't be hard, especially for Moff Gideon to find. That shouldn't be hard for Moff Gideon to find.
I mean, she could die or just hide.
But I mean, like the Kaminoans keep that research. Like, it's not just like
it could get destroyed. Anything could happen.
I highly doubt that. That's like very, very, very. What's what I'm looking for? Like in court, that's. I promise I'm not high. I'm just like a little slow today. What's what I'm looking for? That's circumstantial. It feels like very circumstantial. It feels really circumstantial.
I mean,
to me personally, what I think is that's just she was an experiment. I don't think she's Force sensitive. I just think that all the like abilities is just like, because what they keep saying, what the Kaminoans kept saying was she was birthed for a purpose. She was specialized for a reason. And so I think that just might have been like genetic tampering with them. I'd be really hard pressed to say she has Force power, but she might. Just like she might have been a clone, she just might have Force powers, but I don't see it.
Yeah. I don't really have much else to say. Only 2 episodes in. Things are starting off interesting. I'm excited to see Rex again. He was in the trailer, so we know we're gonna see Rex. And he was mentioned in the 2nd episode by Cut. He was there like the day before the Bad Batch got there. So they're definitely gonna run into Rex eventually.
Very soon. If he's not in the 3rd episode, he's probably gonna be in the 4th.
Yeah, that Echo figure looks really good.
I'm so mad. I want
the Hot Toys Echo figure. And whenever they make figures made based off of Clone Wars, they always make them look like realistic at best, as if they were in a movie. So it's the actor's face, but he's far thinner, just like Echo is in the show. And it looks really cool. Echo's helmet is easily my favorite of all of the Bad Batch's helmets.
It's my 2nd favorite. My favorite is Crosshair's, but it's my 2nd favorite.
Crosshair's newest helmet is probably my 2nd favorite.
Any Crosshair helmet looks awesome with like the little target on the. I'm like, yeah.
The thing that makes me most excited about the Bad Batch is that it brings us ever closer to getting something that I've talked about wanting for so long, and that's a show that focuses on like not clones, but stormtroopers specifically. And some people are saying that Crosshairs could be the predecessor to the Death Troopers, and that he could potentially, if he, I'll say F, but I feel like he probably 100% is going to die eventually in this show. But I feel like he definitely has death flags written all over him. But if he doesn't, I feel like he could potentially, you know, there were still some clones in the stormtrooper ranks. What if he was a death trooper within like the Empire at some point, and he was like one of the first death trooper. He was the first death trooper, and he like led a death trooper squad. It would be cool to get a show that's just about like death troopers. I want a show that's about death troopers. I really do. I want to show
that he's. I hope he doesn't die. I really hope he doesn't die. Like I hope they redeem him in the end.
I feel like they're definitely setting it up for that.
I hope he doesn't die. I've been hearing theories that the entire Bad Batch are slowly, like their inhibitor chips are slowly going to take over. I really hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I feel like they're definitely going to remove them.
That's what like I'm like, now you know they exist.
Yeah,
it would make no sense for you to keep them.
I was gonna say Hunter just didn't know that they existed, but now that he does, he's probably gonna be like, Tech, get these chips out of our heads because we don't know what could happen.
Right.
Like, they're not gonna keep those in their head. If they do, in my opinion, that would be a bit of lazy writing, because I don't think that they would keep those chips in their heads once they learn that they're in.
It just doesn't make sense for them to do. Like,
yeah, but yeah, I want to see more shows that are about these clone troopers. I mean, stormtroopers. We've seen clone troopers all the time. Stormtroopers, specifically death troopers.
You should read Tag and Bink. If you haven't read Tag and Bink, you should read Tag and Bink.
Those robots that they fought in the training arena. Because when they first showed up, I was like, what is this? Are these dark troopers? What happened? Why are these dark trooper looking robots that we've never seen before coming out?
That reminds me, in Rebels, everyone's like, the Dark Troopers in The Mandalorian are the first time we see like live action Dark Troopers on screen. I don't think so, because in Rebels, in season 3, we see Thrawn literally like fist to fist with like two Dark Troopers. And I'm like pretty sure that's the first time we've seen them on screen. You finished Rebels, right?
No.
No? Never mind. Never mind. I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, Dijon can back me up. He knows what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
No, he hasn't even.
So yeah. So next we're gonna get into Invincible, but before we get in that, we're gonna start off with 2 comics before we get there. First off, after reading all of Invincible and watching all of Invincible, I had a void in my heart that needed to be filled, and I found the comic to fill it. It's called Radiant Black. And it's kind of like, and it's actually described this way by Robert Kirkman himself, the writer of Invincible, as Power Rangers and Invincible combined. And it kind of is Power Rangers and Invincible combined. The writer, I can't remember his name at the moment, has also wrote on the Power Rangers comic. So
Power Rangers comic is so weird.
He also wrote New 52 Nightwing.
So, never mind. Now I automatically don't want to read it.
No, it's good. I promise you it's good.
But I hate New 52 Nightwing. It's like, that's one of my least favorite series.
Writers can get better. Writers don't stay bad forever. Not all of them. Radiant Black is really...
Sorry.
What?
You said writers don't stay bad. Then this proves that wrong. But
yeah, but Radiant Black is great. The main character is a writer, a down on his luck writer who moves back home with his parents after he falls into debt. And he goes out drinking with his friend, right?
So relatable already.
Yeah, and he goes out drinking with his friend. And like as they leave like the bar that they were at, they see this like black hole just out in the middle, like on a train track. And he goes and touches it, and he of course turns to a Power Ranger, kind of. And and then the police see it and are like, what's happening? And then eventually he like a train almost hits them because they're standing on a train track. He just lifts the train with like some type of like telekinetic ability. And the police see this happen. And then later on, I think like the second issue, the police find out that it was him and go to his house. And and like I've never seen a case. You read Pharma Comics to me where the police just straight up find out that the hero,
That's happened a few times.
the hero's the hero, and they're just like, hey, you should help us. They literally came to his house, is like, you should help us. I think this takes place in like a county in Illinois, but he goes to Chicago every now and again because it's a much bigger city where more crime is happening because it's a big city. And there are very clearly other people with the suit in different colors, like Power Rangers. But the one other person that he ran into was like robbing banks with the suit. They were just using their powers to rob banks, but it's really cool so far. Next, Nightwing. Most recent Nightwing run is pretty good. Nightwing is a billionaire.
It's just funny to me that like
it makes sense that Alfred just saved his money because he doesn't spend it on anything. He
doesn't need to. Bruce buys him everything he wants.
Like, he just invested it, and he saved up a lot of money. He saved up not just a lot of money, billions of dollars, and then he gave it to Dick after he passed. And he was like, "Oh, here you go, Dick. You get this money." And of course, Nightwing is going to try and save the city of Bloodhaven by not just being Nightwing, but also using all of the money he has. And also, essentially, it was said like Alfred doesn't see like all of the Robins as like grandchildren, but he sees them as sons alongside Bruce. All of them are his sons.
Yeah.
And like Dick sees like Alfred and Bruce as his two fathers.
And that was really sweet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and okay, I've been saying for so long, and that reminds me, do not let me forget about the Robin series. Do not let me forget about the Robin series.
Damien,
but that reminds me, I've been wanting, and I know I'm not the only person, but like other like serious, like hardcore Bat family members have been wanting a book about the Bat family, like not just about Batman, but like specifically about the Bat family.
Isn't that kind of what Detective Comics is supposed to be?
That's what it's supposed to be, but it always falls back on Batman. Like,
Yeah,
it's like Batman, like the head of every single story of that. Like that's not what like.
Wait, like mute your mic and unmute it. Like your mic just went really weird.
I think it's because the motorcycle went back.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They always fall, like the stories always fall back on Batman in Detective Comics. Which I mean, like I'm fine with. We're both huge Batman fans. Like I'm fine with that. But like,
but Batman has his own comic called Batman. He doesn't.
Yes, he is. I think he has like 5 different concurrent series going right now, and I'm like, give me something like give me something Bat family, but not Batman.
Yeah.
But
no, I feel the same about the live action movies. Like I like Batman, but give me a Nightwing movie. Give me an actual proper Birds of Prey movie with Black Canary, Huntress, and Oracle, or her. She could be Batgirl. Honestly. She could be both, really. But yeah, like
I hope that's what they're doing with this new Matt Reeves universe.
Yeah, like give me a proper live action Cassandra Cain, because like you said, that Cassandra Cain in Birds of Prey is sad.
I don't even know who that like.
It's sad. That wasn't Cassandra Cain. That was some random Asian girl that Harley Quinn picked up off the street.
I swear to God, that was like the worst ever.
And, like, give us a like if you're gonna give us, like I said before, if you're gonna give us Harley Quinn with the ensemble group, make it Gotham City Sirens. I'd like a Gotham City Sirens movie.
I would too. I'm not even a big fan. I don't like Harley Quinn at all. Actually, like I genuinely do not like Harley Quinn as a character.
I love some Batman animated series, and because of that show, I loved Harley Quinn. Also, the Harley Quinn cartoon itself made me really like Harley Quinn. And
I do not like Harley Quinn,
especially them.
But I love Poison Ivy. And Catwoman is one of my favorite DC characters, and so I'm like,
Catwoman's fantastic.
Catwoman is amazing. Like Catwoman is just like I'm not gonna say she's the perfect character, but like female characters that are like super morally ambiguous but always leaning towards the hero are like my favorite female. Like Elektra, I was just saying, like I love Elektra. Like I always read Elektra series. Like, I love Catwoman.
She loves stealing things, but she, for the most part, is always there to help people.
Yeah, she's. I can't even really say she's like an anti-hero anymore because she's like genuinely a hero now at this point. But like
she hasn't really been.
She still steals.
Close to it in a while. Like she enjoys stealing, but she also helps people. So
yeah,
it's like it's like Robin Hood. She steals and she enjoys it, but then she also gives back.
Gives it back to the poor. Yeah, but that reminds me of No, because I was. This Nightwing run has been giving me all the Bat Family content I want. One, Dick and Barbara are they're an actual couple. Well, kind of. They haven't really like confirmed it, but like they're basically a couple, which is great because back before Infinite Frontier started, at the very like tail end of Rebirth, when they were doing the whole Dark Multiverse thing, they got married. Like Bruce literally like married them, and they were like, if we make it through this, we'll get our marriage annulled, but we're gonna actually date and we're gonna give it what?
Is Bruce ordained?
Probably. It's Bruce. He married them some, but like it's Bruce Wayne. He's probably ordained. Let's be real here.
I mean, I would, if anything, I would expect Alfred to be ordained and for him to marry.
Alfred probably is ordained, but like you can't convince me that Bruce isn't ordained. Like you can't convince me that he's not ordained. It's Batman. But like they got married and they were like, if we make it through this, which they obviously made it through this because it's a Nightwing series, Barbara in it, they're not dead. Then we'll get our marriage annulled and we'll date for real this time. So it's like it's very much so they're not confirming anything, but we all know they're dating. Yeah. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the Bat Family has a group chat. And I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. I've been wanting, because like the Bat Family, like realistically, when you look at all these characters, all like consistently,
all of them are like mid-20s or younger.
Yeah,
except for
like Bruce. the oldest Bat Family character that's not Batman is probably Barbara. Barbara's like a year older than Dick, and Dick is like 23, 24.
Kate is probably the second oldest.
No, I keep forgetting she exists. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a huge Batwoman fan, but like I definitely keep forgetting she exists. She's in her like late 20s.
Yeah, I think she could be interesting, but they failed to do interesting things.
They failed to do anything with her. She was cool in like the beginning of Rebirth Detective Comics, and then they dropped that instantly.
Because she could be a really good anti-hero, but they just be dropping the ball.
Like she killed Clayface, and then they did nothing with that at all, and then she just like faded to the background, and I'm like, where's Batwoman? But yeah, so what'd you say?
How do you kill Clayface?
He was reverted back to his human form somehow. I don't remember because I didn't really like
that. Happened in Detective Comics. That was a case of Detective Comics not being exclusively about Bruce.
No, that's what I'm referring to though. Is that's when he reverted back to his human form. She had a sniper rifle. Batman was trying to talk him down, and then she just shot him in the head. And I was like, well, there goes that.
Yeah, and Red Hood was like, I don't see anything wrong with this. He was like, I don't see anything wrong with this.
That made me a little mad though, because like he had reformed at that point. But
no,
anyway,
he'll never reform.
Clayface definitely reformed at that point.
Not Clayface. I was talking about Red Hood.
Oh no, I was talking about Clayface. I'm like, Clayface reformed at that point. Like there was no reason she had no reason to shoot him. So I understand what Batman did when he kicked her out. But
yeah, definitely.
When you look at these characters consistently, they should act like a family, and you see them acting like a family sometimes. But for some reason, the writers are just like afraid to let characters act realistically.
I need some slice of life Bat Family moments. I need them just hanging out.
Yes, thank you. That's all I've wanted. Because I'm like, if you really look at them, that's how they would consistently. They're literally family. Like they are family. Why are you making them so angsty all the time? Like that's not them.
You know, I read a lot of fan fiction, and there's just one I read.
I was not expecting you to start that off.
But
that's not how I was expecting you to start off this sentence.
Wait. The main character in this is Damien, and like some fan created character, and the interactions between Damien and the rest of the former Robins in that in this fan fiction is really interesting. He's essentially like he's played as a bit of the straight man. He's the more serious character, and he's always pretty much just hates Tim, and anytime Tim's around, he finds a reason. He just finds a reason to say something about him. And it's good. I like the interactions between them in that story. And I would like to see something interesting. Something similar to that in a comic or a show or movie or animated something.
But I don't know if you've been looking at DC Comics Instagram story, but they've been putting up polls for future series that are going to get made. And one of them is The Robins, for Dick, Jason, Tim, and Damien, and hopefully Duke is going to be in it because Duke is a Robin technically. He keeps saying he's not Robin, but He was Robin at one point. So
Stephanie was Robin too.
Stephanie was. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie. She was Robin for like a week, and Batman literally used her to manipulate Tim into being Robin again. Like that was the only reason she was Robin. And he was like, "I need your boyfriend back in the role, so I'm gonna use you to get him back." Like she was literally Robin for a week, and she wasn't even that bad. He just didn't want to.
Really, like, the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, man, I want a detective comics show. I always think about that, right? What if we get a show? But what are you gonna call it? You can't call it Detective Comics because it's not a comic, it's a show. And you can't call it Detective Show. That sounds weird.
That sounds stupid.
Detective Serious?
That still sounds stupid. I'm not gonna lie, it still sounds stupid.
You just call it Detectives? I don't know, but
I know they're naming the video game this, but call it Gotham Knights because like that's what it's about.
Yeah, you're right. It could be called Gotham Knights, and I would love to for it to focus on different members of the Bat family every now and again. Sometimes, Cassandra, sometimes Tim, Nightwing, Barbara.
Like different arcs of
Red Hood.
Just different arcs of the seasons would be fire.
I really want people who don't read the comics to see more of Cassandra. Because they have
she's one of my favorite DC characters, and they keep like
they need to
say they do anything because they don't like she's treated well in the comics. She's only been in live action one time, and the one time they put her in live action, they mess her up terribly. Yeah, like I'm trying to think of another character that they messed up.
So before we go on to Invincible, you want to talk about Robin?
The comic?
Yeah, you said you wanted to talk about Robin.
Oh yeah. No, I was just mentioning that it exists because or that it potentially exists because I'm very excited for that.
Oh, the Robins, that's what you want
to remind me. Wait, what?
I said, oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah. You did remind me. Like 2 more things, and I promise we can talk about Invincible. One, I mentioned this like a little bit ago. I really, really, really hope that Matt Reeves' Batman universe begins and like spreads out to the Bat family.
Yeah.
Or I would take we've talked about this a couple of times, a Batman animated series in like the 3D animated style of that one digital artist. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll put up a picture.
The 3D one, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll put up a picture.
Okay, and like I would want that to spread out into an animated universe of like Bat Family TV shows, like or Bat Family animated shows. That'd be awesome. That's one.
I wouldn't be mad if they kept Brendan Thwaites as Nightwing. I think he's a good Nightwing.
I think he can be cast better, but I can't really complain because he's not that bad. He just the material has been. He just
needs to not be brooding because that's not Nightwing.
I just think the material has been garbage for Titans, and that's my problem with it. But 2, Hood, Outlaws and Legends. Have you played it yet?
No, I'm not interested in that game at all.
I'm very interested in that game. I'm very excited. I don't have the money yet because I'm very broke right now because I pay bills because I'm an adult. But when I get the chance, I'm buying that and I'm buying RE7. Not 7, 8, Village. I'm buying Village and I'm buying Hood, Outlaw and Legend. I'm very excited for that game. I've been like following this game for like a year and a half. I'm so hyped.
I saw a gameplay a while ago and I was like, it does look like my type of thing, but it looks interesting.
It looks like so much fun, especially like if you have friends to play. Well, I'm trying to get my friends together. Oh, it's gonna be so fun. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Because when you said Robin, and then you said Robin Hood back when we were talking about Catwoman, I was like, oh yeah, Robin Hood, Outlaws and Legends. See, I have ADHD, and that's how my brain works.
Yeah, so. But going into Invincible, we're going to spoil the animated series. So we're not going to go.
We're not going to spoil the comic. I've been wanting to spoil the comic.
We're not going to go deep into the comics because we don't have enough time to. But we will compare what's happened in the show so far to what happened.
Can I just say real quick about the comics? I hated the last 5 issues. For me, seriously hated the last 5 issues.
I don't know. Did you hate that it was like a big battle? Or
no.
Did you hate the epilogue? The epilogue was great. I hope you're not talking about the epilogue.
The epilogue, I had problems with the epilogue, but for the most part, I like the epilogue. For the most part, I like the epilogue.
I saw the epilogue and I was like, man, I kind of want to know what happens in between those potentially thousands of years that happens. I kind of want to know.
It was 500 years. It was 500 years because on the last page, he was saying, like 500, yeah. It was 500 years. But It's after. It wouldn't really be spoiling anything to say the time skip. Like, would that really be
anything? I like that blog, and very like in kind of battle to me was a little weird, but other than that,
that was very weird to me. That was like borderline stupid, but that wasn't what I hated. I mean, I can't even really say I hated it. Is what happens post time. It's like what happens like as soon as the time skip happens, like after the reboot arc.
Is it with that one villain, my favorite character in the entire series?
Text me in chat. Who's your?
I'm gonna cut out the villain part. My favorite character is Robot. Robot is easily my favorite character.
I do like Robot a lot. That made me mad though. The whole Robot arc, like how that was handled so stupidly.
Oh, I loved it. Oh, I don't
know. That was handled so stupidly at the end.
We'll talk about that later because that's okay. Into way later into the comic. I think it was handled.
Oh, yeah, that's what was like the last like 5 issues. Like
beautifully. It was so good.
I hated that.
Robot's art was so good.
I hated it so much.
I'm sad it had to go the way it did, but it was so good. I'm gonna have to cut out all of that because I don't want nobody to know where it's talking. It was so good.
People are gonna be watching like, what happens to what? What happens to who? Like,
what happens to Robot? What happens? But yeah, the animated series, it's good. It's great. It was short, which is good because it was short and sweet. And they rearranged a lot of things. The order that things happened, and it helped with the pacing a lot. And they also made a lot of characters far more interesting than they were in the comics. Like Amber, who was barely a person in the comics.
Amber literally was not a character.
But in the show,
she was just the ditzy girlfriend. Like that.
Yeah, in the show, she's Black, and she essentially is a character away from Mark. Like by herself, she's a character. She isn't built based on just her relationship with Mark. And before we get into, I want to talk about Debbie, but before we get to her, I want to talk about Amber a bit. You're on Twitter, you're on the internet, and people out here hating on Amber. They're mad at her because she knew I think at that point she knew for a week that Mark was invincible, but still got mad at him. And they're just like with anything that it takes two to tango. And for me, they were both wrong in various ways. For Mark, he at this point should have realized it isn't working and that it should end, and just constantly lying to her and telling her, yeah, I'll be able to make it, knowing he won't, because every single time he has to run off to go save someone is just unnecessarily cruel to her and himself. It was unnecessary. He didn't need to do that. He should have just ended it. But also, she's also a bit of an asshole for getting mad at him because he went to go save people's lives. Even when she was aware that that's what he was doing, it's like, okay.
I was gonna say she knew.
Like at that point, it's also like, she can't just expect him to tell her that he's a superhero. Like, you can't expect the superhero to go and tell just every girl that he starts dating for a few months, oh, I'm a superhero. I don't know you. I've only known you for a few months, bro. like 5 years from now, you can end up telling my worst enemy who I am. Like, he can't just go around just telling people who he is. The people that find out who he is, they just figure it out themselves. He doesn't go and tell them. If that changes.
I mean, he's not really taking the best care of his secret identity. Like, you really could put 2 and 2 together.
But really, nobody in that universe is really hiding their identity the best. But
like the biggest it goes up to is
straight up don't wear
you saying like people just don't look up. Like, so you're really just gonna you don't even wear a mask, Eve. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's true though. People don't look up. I don't be.
They don't look up. I look up, but like I'm weird, so I'm weird though. So I mean, I don't really.
But yeah, aside from that, Debbie in the show, at the beginning, for the most part, she kind of just cried and drunk the entire time. After Nolan left, because Nolan left far earlier in the comic in comparison to the show. But
he leaves in issue 12 of the comic.
Yeah, this time she figures out, with the help of Damien Darkblood, who also in the show is a far more interesting character, because in the comic, he's
there for like 2 issues max.
He shows up. Yeah, he just shows up a couple times, and the last time he shows up, he goes to try and investigate what's happening, and it was after everything that happened with Nolan, and after he left the planet, and they were like, "Oh, we already know who did it," and he's like, "Oh." and he just leaves.
Yeah, he just leaves. He never comes back.
But in this one, it was like he figures out who did it. But it's also like Cecil knew. Cecil knew he did it. He just didn't say anything because he was trying to figure out a way to stop him because he was aware that, okay, this dude's evil.
Honestly, I like the comic version of Debbie better just because.
I mean, for me, that's kind of a ridiculous statement because they barely changed anything about her. If anything, they've added more to her character than they haven't taken anything away. So what's there to like more about?
She's a let. If you go back and reread the comic, this is something that I saw. I know you and I read comics on the same website. We totally don't pirate them. We don't pirate our comics.
Except for Berserk.
I know you and I. Wait, what'd you say?
Nothing.
Oh, I know you and I read comics on the same site. Something that someone said in one of the comments was Debbie is the most savage character in the entire series. And I feel like they took that away from her in the animated series. Like they took that away from her in the show. She was savage in the comics. She did not care what she said or whose feelings she hurt. She was like,
I mean, I think they've still got that across in the show. Like, she doesn't like pull punches with anyone.
I don't. I can see why you say that, but like, and there's really not that big of a difference. But it's like
the show
that's just like
the show.
That's what I like. Like that was
gotten to any areas of the book to where she's really in a situation to do that.
Give me a sec. Not too much longer. Okay, not too much longer. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, I don't know. I was just saying, go ahead, finish what you were saying.
I was just saying, it's not that big a difference, but like I really like the fact that Debbie was like, she felt like Alfred levels of sassy, but like she also wasn't anybody's butler. So like she was just like, I don't know. It's hard to describe without spoiling anything.
Yeah,
but I really like how sassy she was.
Yeah, I feel like it's still there in this. They just haven't
gotten to a point.
Haven't gotten to a point to where she could do it more, because
I get that. I get where you're coming from.
He has too much to focus on in the first season.
Oh, that's another thing in the show.
Also, this is another thing that I disagree with you about. You said that you liked like the beginning of Robot and Monster Girl's relationship and the comic versus the show. And for me, it's the same thing with Debbie. They add more without taking anything away. So
I don't remember enough about the beginning of their relationship in the comic to say. I may have said that. I literally just don't remember enough about it. I probably still stand by it.
Yeah, the beginning was kind of just like, it wasn't really made obvious that he had feelings for her until he started to make the body. Whereas in the show, once she got hurt, which I don't think she got hurt this bad in the comic, it showed like that he had human emotion, and it hinted at the fact that he wasn't just a robot and that he's very clearly a person. And
again, I don't remember the beginning of the comic that well. So I'm not gonna lie, I probably still stand by my point. I just don't remember the comic that well, like the beginning of the comic that well.
I also think that his like getting a new body arc was rushed a bit, because it felt out of place in the second to last episode, because it was overshadowed by literally everything else that was happening. It was overshadowed like hell, because in the middle of him like revealing himself, you have Omni-Man fighting the Kaiju and fighting Immortal, and then he
literally walked into the Guardians of the Globe thing, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" They're like looking at the TV, like, "What is going on?"
I think it should have been saved for like the beginning of the second season.
I agree with that. I can totally agree with that.
It should have been teased, because then it could have had its own moment to shine rather than being overshadowed by a completely different situation.
I completely agree with that. I want to add one more thing. In the show, and I think I like this about the show a lot more, Nolan was a lot more like, he went after people in the show. In the comic, when like thousands of people died when Omni-Man and Invincible fought, that wasn't because Omni-Man went after people. That was just like the aftermath of them fighting, like punching each other through buildings and stuff like that. That was just that. In the show, he goes after people with malicious intent. Like he's like,
It's
so
so
like he hates humans in the show. I'm like, where did this come from? Because this was not in the comic. Like he puts
like
Mark through the subway. I'm like, yo.
that subway scene was so crazy. I was watching,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like they make you feel the weight of the fact that in this fight, they're killing a lot of people even more. Because in the comic and even in the show, they could have done it to where they're just fighting. It could have been like a Superman.
That's what happens in the comic. That's
like
basically what happens in the comic.
yeah,
You don't see people
comics,
dying. You just see like the end of the fight. My bad, go ahead.
In Superman comics, you just see him fight, buildings get destroyed. That's the end of it. But behind the scenes, like 1,000 people died.
You know people are dying. Yeah.
You know that people are dying, but in this, they show them fighting, but they also show the people that are dying as they're fighting.
And I was like, that was, in my opinion, a great change from the comics. Because
that scene where he kills the black dude became a meme of like the black dude's like, oh, thank God, and then Omni-Man standing behind him. Like the moment he saved him, I was like, oh, that black dude's about to die. Omni-Man's definitely about to come and kill this man. And then he did.
I'm not gonna lie, I got, because remember, I hadn't seen the final like episode, like the final 2 episodes for like a week. So I had seen that scene get spoiled, but I was fine because like I was finished with the comic at that point. Like I know everything that happens, but like had I not seen that scene online, I would not have thought, like I would have thought that he lived. But he was really like, oh, thank God you saved me. Boom. He was like, Dad, you almost killed this guy. Yeah, I know, and you saved him. Dead. Like, bro, wait. What is the point? Like, no.
I was afraid for a second that they weren't going to include the line about what will you have in 500 years? And he's like, I'll have you, Dad. Because I was waiting for it. I was sitting there waiting for it. I was like, he hasn't said it yet. Why isn't he saying it? And he finally said it. And I was like, yes.
I gotta say, the Omni-Man memes where he's beating the mess out of Mark, those are like my favorite. Those are like currently my favorite memes. Like those.
Yeah, a lot of people, know.
I love those memes.
Actually, people compare him to Homelander, except that, and people try to do verses. And I'm like, in a fight, it's not a comparison.
It's not even close. Omni-Man like rips him in half.
Would punch
it becomes the immortal versus Omni-Man. Like it's
Omni-Man would do the same thing that happens a lot in the comic. Is he will get a hole punched through him.
Yeah, literally, he's just.
So many people get holes punched through them in the comic.
He's gonna get Dragon Ball Z. That's what he's
just like
Dragon Ball Z. Yeah.
I mean, without spoiling it, there's a lot of similarities between Dragon Ball Z and a lot of the in terms of how their powers work. It's great,
and even how certain character arcs go.
Yeah. There's no key, just in case people think that I'm referring to key. There's no key.
Yeah, no. There's no key. No.
There's not even any heat vision. Nobody has heat vision. They just have super strength. They just fight. They just like to fight.
They have super strength, they have flight, and they can live for a really long time.
What is that?
And they have super speed too.
What is that video where it's like a dude who's like a hero or something, and he's like, I don't save people. I just like to fight. That's exactly.
One Punch Man.
That's what it is.
That's because I mean, like Mark in the beginning of the series, even I can't even really say up until the end, but like, I can't really say anything without spoiling a lot. But like, for a good chunk of the series, Mark actually enjoys saving people, and then after that, he doesn't even really want to fight. He's like,
this is a very subtle spoiler, so I guess skip like 10 seconds or something. But I can't wait to see how people react to like the black and blue suit.
Hated the black and blue suit.
Yeah. Did you like the black?
I really hated the black and blue suit.
I like the black and blue suit. It grew on me fast. Like at first I was like, this is weird. And it grew on me really fast. Plus he doesn't wear it.
Didn't grow on me at all.
He doesn't wear it for long. He essentially just wears it for like a dark moment in his life, literally and physically with the suit.
And then he wears it a couple more times, like not like it's just like his spare costume. Like this is basically a spare costume.
He literally will go wear it for like one fight and then go and switch back.
I was so happy when he switched back to the classic yellow, blue, and black. I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I love
the blue and black. Just is not.
It's a really
people are freaking out. People in like comment sections are like, oh, you think this is bad? Y'all are not ready for Thrag. No, screw Thrag. I'm waiting for Conquest and I'm waiting for Dinosaurus.
Oh my God, Dinosaurus is the best villain in the entirety of
Yes.
Invincible. A lot of you are probably going, Dinosaurus? Who is Dinosaurus? Oh, you'll see who Dinosaurus.
I can't. This isn't even a spoiler. This isn't even a spoiler.
Dinosaurus isn't going to show up till like the second to last season. But when he does,
I wouldn't say it would even be the second to last season. I could see him showing up in like season 3.
yeah, based on the way the show goes, they could change it up a bit and have him show up at some point, because he does show up and then disappear for a long time and then come back in a big way. So he might come, get beat up, thrown in jail, and then come back later. But
if you don't know who Dinosaurus is, this isn't really a spoiler or anything.
Don't even know who Dinosaurus is. Just leave that for people to be surprised about. Dinosaurus is great.
Dinosaurus is awesome.
And I saw this on Twitter, and now because it was said, I can't see anybody else. People were saying, hold up, wait a minute, let me look up name, because I forgot his name immediately. Oh, Phil Lamar. People are saying that Phil Lamar should be Angstrom Levy in the in Invincible, and I'm like, yes.
I can see that. As soon as you said Phil Lamar, I knew exactly.
Yeah, I can't see anybody else as Angstrom Levy now. It has to be Phil Lamar. I have to hear Phil Lamar's voice as Angstrom Levy. Angstrom Levy is also another good villain. His motivation is hilarious.
Yeah, he every time he showed up, he made me very mad. Because I'm like, you have no reason to be here. Like, just go home.
That's the whole point. He's meant to be ridiculous. Like, his motivation is stupid, and everybody around him knows that his motivation is stupid because he's wrong. But he essentially is just forcing himself to be right, because he knows. I'm pretty sure he's aware it's his fault, but he wants somebody to blame it on. So he's just going to take it out on Invincible. But
I think my favorite villain besides Dinosaurus, I don't really think it's the guy with the red suit and the lightning, and he had his wife and kid. I don't remember his name. He only shows up in like 3 issues max.
He's not really a villain. He's more of a.
He's a very tragic character who does some bad things.
He is a tragic kid. Oh, some people are also mentioning how this could kind of open up a like Image Comics animated universe, and they can make other like.
That'd be cool.
Based off of
during Invincible War, Spawn shows up.
They can make a Brit show.
Spawn shows up in Invincible War. He's in like the very first panel of the first issue of Invincible War. Yeah.
Oh, and I was like, is that Spawn? I was like, I knew Spawn was Image Comics, but I did not expect him to show up.
I saw not Battle Beast. I saw Savage Dragon show up, and I had read some Savage Dragon comics from like the 80s, like a good like 3-4 years ago. And so I was like, is Image Comics like connected universe? And so I had to like look it up, and apparently the whole connected universe thing for Image Comics is very, very, very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's weird. There's also, the Wolf dude, Wolfman, I think. He has his own comic as well. Like when they like some of those issues with the Wolf dude came out of nowhere, and I was like, wait, what is happening right now?
I didn't read his series. I read the crossover, and I read
because
I did read Tech Jacket series. Tech Jacket was awesome. I read his series.
Tech Jacket is cool, and he plays a surprisingly big role, and like later on, in one of the coolest arcs in Invincible. That arc is so cool. No spoilers. That arc is
no spoilers, but yeah, it was really awesome.
He's so good. That's easily going to be season 3, most likely.
I'm trying to think of what season 2 would be.
Pretty much him. I think so.
Like I'm trying to think of like the arcs in the comics.
Yeah, I think the season 2 is going to end with Little Purple Boy.
Really? I think
it's going to end with. When I say Little Purple Boy, I mean.
I know you're talking about.
I don't mean the fight. I just mean him going to the planet and seeing Little Purple Boy.
I could see it ending in the fight. I could, but I don't think it would end with Little Purple Boy. I think that would be like mid season 2, honestly, or late season. No,
for me, I think that it could end with the fight. I think it would be cool if that season just ended with that fight.
But like in my mind, there's not enough of like a solid arc, you know what I mean, to fit in between like a whole season.
It's not a spoiler to say that like there's more Nolans, which is insane. Like it's ridiculous. That dude's stupid in terms of strength within his universe, and there's more of him.
Yeah, I think like what before the whole arc that I'm not going to spoil.
You're about to give a number. Don't give a number. Don't tell them how many there are.
Okay, you're gonna have to cut that out then. But
Yeah, don't tell them how many there are.
Okay. But like, yeah. Yeah, no, oh my god, this series is brilliant.
But also
sequel makes me so mad, but I love that series.
Yeah, but the only reason we're not going to go into spoilers, because I completely planned on us going into spoilers with the comics, but we'll do that next week. Now that we've got the show out of the way, we're 100% just going to spoil and go just talk about Invincible.
Okay.
But the reason I wanted to cut that short is because there are other stuff to talk about. Just a few quick things before we get to some bigger points.
We're gonna have to like blow through this because my mother's trying to cook dinner.
Yeah. So, Joker sequel is in development. There was a Venom Let There Be Carnage trailer earlier. I'm in terms, I'm trying to think about like Carnage's design. I wish there was some black in there, because Carnage has those black veins on him as well. That's just like, those aren't shadows. That's literally part of his design. So removing it for me is a little weird, because it's a very pronounced version, part of his design. And in the trailer, he just looks like, he's not very red. He's more of like a natural. He's like a natural redhead. That's like the color of his like the symbiote is basically the same color as Cletus Cassidy's hair, which looks significantly less ridiculous than it did at the end of the first Venom movie. Also, it still is really weird to have a Venom and Carnage without Spider-Man. Like,
I'm not a big fan of Venom or Carnage or really any symbiote, so I don't really care.
I love it. Venom's, I think he's probably my favorite Spider-Man villain. I love
that's
Venom.
insane, man.
I love Venom a lot. Venom's great. Carnage is also really cool. But I like their interactions with Spider-Man specifically. I don't like them by themselves. It could work after they interact with Spider-Man, but for them to exist and be like, have their origins completely separate of Spider-Man is odd to me. Another thing, so apparently WB is looking for some Black directors to direct a new Superman movie, a Black Superman.
Yeah.
And apparently the main character is gonna be a Black version of Kal-El, not Calvin Ellis, not Val Zod, but just straight up Black Kal-El. And the number one thing that everybody says, and I'm sure you're thinking it, I said it 1,000 times, why don't they just make an Icon and Rocket movie?
Oh, that was not the first thing that came to my head. That thought didn't pass my mind at all.
Yeah, when it comes to stuff like this, is like literally within the DC multiverse, there is already a Black man who's a completely separate character with a separate story, who's essentially already Black Superman. You don't need to literally make a Black Superman, because there's already a separate character who's similar enough, but also different in his own character in his own right. We don't need Black Superman. We need an original Black character, which DC has plenty of, and they're just not using them.
I was just gonna say do a Calvin Ellis movie, because that's immediately where my thoughts went. Yeah.
I want Icon and Rocket and just the entire Dakota verse in general more than
I think you and I can both agree, though, that just making Black Clark Kent while firing Henry Cavill on his birthday,
it's ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. That was so stupid. Like they had the blueprint right there and they failed. Like, why? Like, what was the point? There was no point.
But like I said in the Milestone Returns #0, my favorite part in that was the Icon and Rocket part, and I'm excited.
I still haven't read it. I need to. I still haven't.
Yeah, I one night was just up for like an hour on John Tobias's Twitter. For people who don't know, John Tobias is the second half of Noob Saibot. He is one of the creators of Mortal Kombat. And as I read his Twitter and the threads upon threads he had about Mortal Kombat, I go, you need to check it out first off. Like, just go to his Twitter and find one of the threads about a character. I might send one to you.
I don't have a Twitter.
If you, yes, you do.
I don't. I used to. I deleted it very quickly.
I literally messaged you on Twitter before, but
Twitter is like one of the most toxic apps I've ever seen in my life. Like, I deleted that very quickly.
Oh no, that's just the internet in general. So I haven't been on one app that I found particularly toxic. That's just the internet.
You haven't been on Twitter long enough. That's all I gotta say. Twitter's the
No,
worst.
I've been on Twitter a while. I personally for me, it's definitely 100% a mindset. My mindset is positivity at all times, and I don't let anything just bring me down.
Oh, see, that's not my mindset.
And I also treat everybody, even the biggest assholes on Twitter, with respect. So yeah, for me, it's just a matter of just mindset.
So you're all positivity and light.
But yeah, on his Twitter is just threads upon threads detailing the stories of the characters of Mortal Kombat. He's a fantastic writer. And as I'm reading, I'm like, how do you make a bad Mortal Kombat movie when you have the resource that is John Tobias's Twitter? I'm gonna have to send you a link because I mean you don't need an account to see his thread.
You're not wrong about that. Yeah, you're right.
I mean just go, go to twitter.com, look up John Tobias, read some of the threads, and you'll read it and go, one, the story details that him and Noob and the rest of them made up at the beginning of the series have changed a bit over time. But even then, some of the details that he has that are different from what we know are actually pretty cool and could make an interesting addition to a movie that would be different from the games. Like Melina not being made like when Katana is like an adult, but like Melina literally actually being her sister, not being a clone, like actually being Katana's sister, but like estranged. And he details like the creation of the Shiraryu. There was a dude named
that's cool.
Takeda, who was Japanese, and he was a part of the Shiraryu, which are Chinese, as you know we've discussed before. And he essentially
the Lin Kuei are Chinese. The Lin Kuei are Chinese.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The Lin Kuei are Chinese, and he broke off from the Lin Kuei and he founded the Shiraryu back in Japan, where he was from. And the Lin Kuei were mad, of course, and that's where that rivalry between the clans came from. And essentially, the Shiraryu continued to practice traditional ninjutsu, whereas the Lin Kuei started using a bunch of technology and magic. And eventually, because of that, they overtook the Shiraryu and just murdered them all. And I'm like, bro, I'm reading this. I'm like, you got your blueprint. This is the Mortal Kombat movie. Read John Tobias. I guarantee you that those writers and that director did not once glance at John Tobias' Twitter. Because if they did, this movie would have been much better. But yeah, I don't think we'll have enough time to talk about Resident Evil. It's sad.
I don't have it, so
yeah, I haven't beaten it either. So, we'll probably save that for another time. But like, I don't know. Do you have to go now? Because I have one last thing.
Go with the one last thing.
So one last thing is just the Marvel scissor reel where they showed the dates for all of the upcoming movies. Eternals coming November 5th, 2021. Spider-Man No Way Home, December 17th, 2021. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, March 5th, 2022. Thor: Love and Thunder, May 6th, 2022. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, July 8th, 2022. The Marvels, which is Captain Marvel 2, November 11th, 2022. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium, February 17th, 2023. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th, 2023. Eternals. Oh, wait, no, that's something different. But also, I'm a little bit more excited about the Eternals because the director recently won an Oscar. And I'm like, okay, she good. If she's good at what she does, this movie will probably be very interesting. I stand by the fact that I think that T'Challa should have been recast. I personally just feel like Chadwick Boseman was great, but Black Panther is more than an actor. And like T'Challa himself, like outside of his role as Black Panther, is just a character I feel like we still need as a society. And I feel like eventually they probably will recast him, but it'll be a while. Like, I'm not mad at them waiting, but I still hope that they eventually do recast him. Like, maybe he steps back and just rules the kingdom for a while and has somebody else act as Black Panther, just like his father did, but his father was old. That's why his father did it. But like someone else is Black Panther while he's ruling the kingdom. And then later on, when they finally recast him, he comes back as Black Panther. I think that could be interesting.
Consider a recast in like 5 years, but he comes back as King of the Dead.
That's a bit on the nose. But
I mean, like, it's the perfect way for King of the Dead Black Panther to be introduced. Like, that's like the perfect way for King of the Dead Black Panther to be introduced. Because in the comics, when he became King of the Dead, it was just kind of like, why? Like what? That like it came literally out of nowhere. But that would.
Yeah, I just realized I keep trying to push my glasses up. I don't have glasses. I just realized I had some more video game stuff, but outside of Resident Evil. I'll just mention one because you gotta go eat your dinner. And that was, I think, I'm gonna mention 3. I'll take that back. You're gonna eat dinner later. Assassin's Creed 3. I mean, Assassin's Creed and World War II, I feel like would be really cool. I was just thinking about it one day, and I thought it would be interesting. The second thing is, PlayStation Sony actually has trademarked Sunset Overdrive. So, and of course, years ago, they bought Insomniac, and Insomniac has been making Spider-Man, and they were already, before they were an official Sony studio, they were making Ratchet and Clank. Now they might be making a new Sunset Overdrive, or it doesn't even mean that Insomniac is going to make it. They could give it to another studio, but they trademark Sunset Overdrive. So we might be getting a Sunset Overdrive. We might be getting the first one on PlayStation and a new one on PlayStation. Lastly, NetherRealm Studios might be making a Marvel fighting game. It's been teased that heavily.
I've mentioned this before.
Also, Ed Boon retweeted James Gunn, a James Gunn tweet saying, "Wow, James Gunn has managed to work on DC and Marvel movies. That's impressive." And then he had an emoji with like the hand on his chest on his chin thinking. And I was like, he's teasing. I don't know if he's just trolling us or teasing us. Because also Jeff Keighley, host of Game Awards, also in the comments put like an eye emoji. And I was like, they could be making another NetherRealm Studios Marvel fighting game, which could be cool.
He straight up said before, he was like,
yeah, he said he would.
He said, no, not just that he would, he had an interview with someone and they were like, have you had talks with Marvel? And he was like, I can't say anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a no. That means there's something there.
It was a Game Informer rapid fire question video where they would just ask him like 100 questions or something like that. And yeah, one of them was about the Marvel's fighting game. And he was like, I've talked about it with Marvel. And I was just like, oh, it's possible.
And I was like, he didn't say no.
Yeah, but I haven't finished Resident Evil. You haven't played Resident Evil. So next episode, we will talk about
the demo, but
or maybe
I was muted. I said I played the demo. I didn't play the actual game.
Yeah, or maybe sometime this week if you're free, we just record that separately because I feel like we got to capitalize on this Resident Evil hype train. But yeah, as usual, I'm Dijon.
I'm Amir.
You can see our ads right below us, and in his hand, and the Mustardcast ad right below him. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content.
Hit the notification bell
so that you're notified when we post. This episode, the energy feels weird, but it is what it is. Not every
it's late.
Yeah, not every episode is going to be a banger, but hopefully this one is still entertaining. I'll see.
It should be.
I'll see when I edit it because it felt weird, but yeah, peace.